Hi, friends. It's so great to be with you here today.
We're really excited about our lesson, but first, I think that we should play a game.
Good idea. Let's go. It's game time.
Today, we're going to play a game called Extreme Close-Ups.
Watch these things and see how fast you can figure out what it is.
So we are talking about something new today.
Really? What is it?
Well, I know that we're talking about a prophet.
A prophet? What is that?
Oh, do you hear that?
It must be Hamilton. He sounds so excited to come and tell us what a prophet is.
Oh, I see him over there. Should we call him over here to tell us?
Yeah.
Okay, are you ready? 1, 2, 3.
Hamilton! Hi, Hamilton. You sounded like you wanted to answer our question. So, what is a prophet?
Oh, well, Hamilton says that a prophet is someone who would hear a message from God and then he would go and tell other people about it.
Oh, that is interesting. Let's go and learn our big God story.
It's time for the Big God Story! Yay!
So Hamilton told us that a prophet is someone who hears a message from God and shares it.
We sometimes think of prophets as people who know the future, but really, they know whatever God tells them.
Which could be anything, because God knows everything.
Well, we now know that God speaks to all of us, but before Jesus came and before there was the Bible, God spoke to his family through just a few people.
Some of those people were the prophets, and 16 of God's prophets have a book in the Bible that's named after them.
They're the last books in the Old Testament. And remember that the Old Testament is all the stories that lead to Jesus before Jesus came to earth.
So for the next little while, we're going to talk about some stories from the minor prophets.
Today's story is going to be about a man that I bet most of you have heard of. His name is Jonah.
So let me read this story to you. God had a job for Jonah, but Jonah didn't want it. Go to Nineveh, God said, and tell your worst enemies that I love them. No, said Jonah, those people are doing bad things. Exactly, said God. They have run far away from me, but I can't stop loving them. I will give them a new start and I will forgive them. No, said Jonah, they don't deserve it. "I'll run away," Jonah said to himself, "far away, so far that God won't be able to find me. Then I won't have to do what God says." "It's a good plan," he said, because as far as he knew, it was a good plan. But of course, it was not a good plan at all. It was a silly plan, because you can run away from God, but he will always come and find you. Jonah went ahead with this not very good plan. "One ticket to not Nineveh, please," he said, and boarded a boat sailing the very opposite direction of Nineveh. Well, it wasn't long before a fierce wind blew, and the boat started to lurk and pitch and roll, and everyone started to turn green. Jonah sat upright in his bed. You see, the first thing that went wrong with Jonah's not very good plan was that God sent a big storm after him. The sailors couldn't sail their ship properly. "We're sinking," they screamed, and they started throwing everything overboard, suitcases, food, whatever they could find. By now, Jonah knew that the storm was his fault. "Throw me in instead," he shouted to the sailors, "and the storm will stop." The sailors weren't sure. "It's the only way you can be saved," Jonah cried. And so 1, 2, 3. Splash! No sooner had Jonah hit the water than the waves grew calm. The wind died down and the storm stopped. Just then, when Jonah thought it was all over, when he was sure he was going to drown, God sent a big fish to rescue him. The fish swallowed Jonah whole with one big gulp. Jonah must have thought he'd died. It was so dark in there, like in a tomb. But then he smelled like rotten food and felt like slimy seaweed, and he knew he wasn't dead. But he was in the belly of a fish, sitting there in the darkness for 3 whole days. Jonah had plenty of time to think. Pretty soon he realized his plan was, well, a very silly plan. He was sorry for running away. He prayed to God from inside that great big fish and asked God to forgive him. After 3 days, the fish spat Jonah safely out onto a sandy beach. Just then, Jonah heard someone calling his name. "Go to Nineveh," God said. And this time, Jonah said, yes. He went straight to Nineveh and he told everyone God's wonderful message. "Even though you run far from God, he can't stop loving you," Jonah told them. "Run to him so he can forgive you." The people of Nineveh listened to Jonah and they started to love God. They learned to do what God said and stop running away from him, just like Jonah. Many years later, God was going to send another messenger with the same wonderful message. Like Jonah, he would spend 3 days in the darkness, but this messenger would be God's own son. He would be called the Word, because he himself would be God's message. God's message was translated into our own language, everything God wanted to say to the whole world in a person, and that person was Jesus.
That is how God taught his people back in the Old Testament. He wanted everyone to know that they needed to do what was right because he wanted them all to know him.
God sent Jonah to tell the people of Nineveh to stop doing bad things, and even though he ran away and didn't listen at first, God made a way for the people of Nineveh to be saved.
And that is why there are prophets in the Old Testament, so that they could hear a message from God and share it with others.
We can also learn from the prophet Jonah that we need to listen to God the first time when he speaks to us.
We live in a great big world that needs to hear about a great big love. We need to tell the story to every little boy and girl. We gotta go, go, go. Jesus said to go, go, go. We need to tell the story of Jesus and his love. So go, go, go. Go into all the world. Go, go, go. Teach the good news. Go, go, go. Go into all the world. Go, go, go. Teach the good news. We live in a great big world that needs to hear about a great big love. We need to tell the story to every little boy and girl. We gotta go, go, go. Jesus said to go, go, go. We need to tell the story tell the story to every little boy and girl. So go, 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 go and tell the world. Go, 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 teach the good news. Go, 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 go and tell the world. Go, 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 teach the good news. Jesus loves them and He loves you. Yeah.
It's mail time. So today we are going to learn a verse from the book of Jonah. It's kind of a funny verse because it's not one that we would learn that often, but it's a good one to remind us that we need to listen to God. So it's from Jonah 3:3, and it's the first part of this verse that says, "This time Jonah obeyed the Lord's command and went to Nineveh."
This one will help us remember that when we know God is asking us to do something, we need to do it.
That's right. So I think we should learn some actions so that we can remember this verse even better.
Good idea.
Okay, so our actions go like this. So this time, we're going to do this for Jonah.
Okay.
So Jonah obeyed. We're going to nod our head because it's good to obey the Lord's command, and he went to Nineveh. Those are pretty good actions.
Yep.
Okay, should we try them all together
I
a
think
few
so.
times? All right, why don't you stand up and do the actions with us? Ready? 1, 2, 3. This time Jonah obeyed the Lord's command and went to Nineveh. Jonah 3:3.
Let's do that again.
Good idea. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. This time Jonah obeyed the Lord's command and went to Nineveh. Jonah 3:3. There's a lot of actions in this verse.
Yes, there
You
are.
got to remember a lot of things, so I think we should try it one last time.
Good idea.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. This time Jonah obeyed the Lord's command and went to Nineveh. Jonah 3:3.
Good job, everyone.
So our craft today is going to be this awesome little whale puppet.
We want to make a whale so that we can remember the story of how God brought Jonah to Nineveh to share the message that he had for them.
That's right. So in the resources, we have these little outlines that you can print off and cut out. All you're going to need for this craft is some scissors, some glue, and some pencil crayons or markers if you want to decorate your whale. And so you're going to print them out, cut them out, and then glue them together. There's some instructions in your resources too of how to make it look like this. And then make a little whale, and it should look something like this. And we attached a popsicle stick onto ours to make it a puppet, but if you don't have a popsicle stick, it's kind of fun to just have a whale.
Awesome. When you're done, make sure to send us a picture, and we'd love to see what you make.
We had so much fun with you today.
Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope that you remember to listen when God asks you to do something.
Yeah, listen not just like Jonah. We want to listen the very first time God asks us to do something.
We hope you have a great week. See you next time.
Bye.
Go,